Confessions, abandonment issues. Most of the people that you talk to on the chat line have some type of emotional disorder. We all are flawed in our own ways, and we are functioning flaw in people. We can function in life, and we have so much hurt on the inside of us that we overfunction in some things. And I noticed that it had got for me on the chat line that there was a need for somebody to be in my life. It's not that I was codependent, because I wasn't. I don't care. Look, I'll do this thing alone. So codependency wasn't my problem. Abandonment was my problem. I felt so abandoned all of my life. And when I finally got to talking on the chat line, it was the one place that I could always go to and find somebody that would listen, hang up on me. They would give me everything that I've gotten all of my life that I was used to and that I knew. Now, what was that I knew? Since a little girl, I always just felt like I didn't belong, like I didn't fit in with anybody. I always played by myself. Growing up, I did a lot of things by myself. It feels like I grew up by myself, but I didn't. I always wondered why my mother gave me away. I always wanted to ask her that question. I think I did ask her one time, and she just said, simply because I couldn't take care of you. And I left it alone. And so I was raised by my grandparents, who became my parents. And it was so many of us in that house that there was not enough time to spend with each child. So that kind of had something to do with it. I always felt like the one that was left out. And even though I had a close relationship with my daddy, that wasn't for long. He would have to go to work. I probably got to spend about 1 hour with him, and then he'd go to work, or either he'd come home and go to sleep, and then he'd go work for somebody else, and then when he come home, eat, and then he was back at work. So I always felt like the abandoned one. And because of this abandonment, it led me to easily attach to people who were bad. I was attracted to bad gods. Like, I didn't even want a church man. I remember saying, don't even give me no church man, because I wanted somebody bad. But I soon learned that church men are just as bad as what we would call today thugs and street hustlers. You get you a preacher or a deacon or church musician, anybody. Some of those guys are bad. They're horrible. They have sides of them that, oh my goodness. They have sides of them that only the ones that they trust get to see that side of them. And sometimes that's not a lot of people. So I was easily to get attached to these people who I knew would not stay long in my life. And that's why the chat line just fitted me so good, because I was used to people running in and out of my life. Even in the 2 long-term relationships I had, those guys didn't stay with me 24/7. They was here for only a few hours, and then they would say they got to go work for somebody, and I wouldn't see them no more the rest of the day or the night. Because then, by the time they finish working for them, I'm waiting on them to come in. And they come in, it's 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and they say they sleepy, they tired, they're going to bed. They go to bed. They wake up 7 a.m. I'm still in the bed, trying to pull myself together, and feels like I just got into bed to go to sleep. So I miss them as they go back out. So see, I have all these abandonment issues that was not resolved at that time. And these guys, they fitted the profile for me, because all of us have a profile of the people that we are attracted to. Some of us know it, and others don't know it until they get with them, and then they be like, oh, this is the same type of guy I just let go of. Well, that's why, because your body knows it. Even though you don't know it right off the bat, your body knows who's bad for you, and that's why you choose them, because it's what you're familiar with. That's why I chose these guys. I could talk to these guys. I didn't cry when these guys left me, or when I got with a guy who didn't like me. I wanted to feel that pain. I wanted to feel that bad stuff. I know it sounds sickening, because it was. I was a sick woman. Mentally, I was sick. I was going through all these mental, emotional battles and didn't know what to do with them. So I spent my time, any free time I could get, I spent it on the chat line so I wouldn't have to think about me. If I talked to 5 guys in one day or in 1 hour, because that call list sometimes would just, you could go through a call list quick. When I would talk to them, it didn't bother me. If they said, I got to go, okay, you got to go. Bye. Text me, call me later. Call me whenever you can. If they didn't call me for 2 weeks, it didn't bother me. But I still was going to answer whenever they did call. Because that's part of the psychological torture that I've received all of my life, the damage that I've been through. That's what my mind knows, is that people will come in my life, but they're not going to stay. But they will be back. That's the programming that I got as a child, was to accept those who are unavailable. And when they do have time for me, then I'm supposed to make time for them. And that's why I am glad that I am doing this live link series, because I think this can help others to identify mentally the homework that they need to do on themselves. I spent the rest of 14 years working on myself to become a better woman, because it was so painful. Some nights after I got off the phone with those guys, I felt really good. I felt really proud of myself. There was no shame, and I was happy that, hey, mission accomplished. Then there was other nights, the mission was accomplished, but I felt so guilty talking to people any kind of way and not really living my truth and my beliefs and my core. You know, it took me away from my beliefs. I have a belief system. And one of my biggest things was prostitution is a no-no. On the inside of me, I believe one man for a woman and one woman for a man. I call my own self cognitive dissonance. When I went outside of my core beliefs, that's when I started really emotionally suffering. That's when the abandonment issues got worse. And this is when the craving to go meet guys got worse. Now I want to do more than talk to them on the phone. I had to meet them now. I had to see them in person. I had to make sure that they saw how I looked so that they could abandon me. And that's what they did. They saw that I was fat. They said, you pretty, but you too big. They hurt my feelings. The feelings that I couldn't really feel because my feelings were already dead. And I needed to feel them hurting my feelings so I could feel alive, and that I would know that, hey, this is what you've always been told, and this is confirmation. You're a nobody. You're abandoned again. I remember I used to park beside this oak tree, and I would cry and say, look how many people left me again. I said, out of all this list there's not one person on the list that I could just call with and be my normal self, be my real true self. And it wasn't. As good of friendships as I had built, there was none that was really willing to accept me as myself. If I would start being myself, I would get abandoned sooner than later. That's how bad it was. And there was probably like one or two that I really connected with, that I tried to be myself with I think it was number 35 and number 37. I tried to be myself with them. And then I soon realized that it wasn't myself that they were looking for. They were looking for the woman that they were looking for, but not who I really was. So I just stayed in character. Stay in character and keep it moving. That's all I could do. And I realized years later that was abandonment issues from people being unavailable in my life. And I worked on it. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it, because those were years that were messed up, but they were life's lessons for me. Even though I was out there doing something very wrong and not woman-like, or what people say ladylike or not godlike, I learned so many lessons from each one of those men. And I'm so thankful to this day that I can sit and say, because of those issues that I learned I had back then. And see, because not all, guys, let me say this before I go into anything else. I'm going to tell y'all, these guys, they know your issues. You don't have to tell them anything, because they done been with enough women that has caused them enough hell in their life that you don't got to tell them what you're going through. You don't have to baby them. You don't have to have a pity story for them or nothing, because these guys have been through enough women to know what depression looks like. They know what anxiety looks like. They know what menstrual cramps looks like. They know behaviors. They've been through enough women. They know. So every time a woman goes to one of these guys on the chat line and tries to explain themselves, you're explaining for nothing. Because he may not tell you everything that he knows. As true as it can be, he will not tell you everything that he knows. If he's a wise, halfway wise, decent man, or even if he's not, though, when I say it out loud, because some of the craziest men can read you the best. They can read you before you even realize what's wrong with you. You sitting around thinking you doing a number on them, when they sitting around, they giving you mental health diagnosis, because they have been that route before with women. They have been that route with themselves. I had one guy tell me, "Oh, you got a little depression going on there, and look, I don't mean to be funny, but I'm trying to have a good time. You're not finna bring me down. I've been through that before." I've had guys tell me that. I've been through that before. I'm not going through that drama again. You got to go do the work on yourself, baby, and then come back. And we meet again, we just meet again, but I'm not willing to go through that, because these men have been hurt too. And that's what all of this chatting has taught me, is that men are hurt beings too. They hear us when we're talking about what we're going through, but sometimes they don't know how to help us, because when they have tried to help in the past, it has made it worse. And it's not their job to try to fix us. It's our job to recognize what's going on with us and get the help that we need. At that time, I really needed help. I needed therapy, because this chat line was my addiction. And I'm going to tell you something else. The longer I was on this chat line, the more cigarettes I smoked. I could smoke like 2 packs of cigarettes. 2 packs. in a day, just talking on this chat line. It seemed like with each guy I needed to smoke. And it got to a point where I was like saying, after my 4th cigarette, I got to hang up with this guy and go to the next one. So I smoked 4 cigarettes and go on to the next one. Because by my 4th cigarette, if I'm smoking 4 cigarettes, you are boring. You're boring because the juicier the conversation, the more cigarettes I smoke. And if I've only smoked 4 and I haven't got to my 6th cigarette, I gotta let you go because I'm wasting my cigarettes now and that costs money. See, there's different prompts that go into all of this. So that's why having abandonment issues, and attachment issues, it worked fine for me with the chat line. It was an eye-opener for me. It was the moment when I finally decided, yeah, I might need to go get some healing for this. I'm broken. I'm abandoned. Nobody knows I'm out here. Hello? Does anybody realize that Jamie is here? That I'm still alive? Hey, I'm over here. I found myself fighting to be in people's lives. It was so much easier to get in somebody's life that I knew wasn't really going to last long. At least I was for sure about that. And that's why it didn't hurt as bad. It gave me the same feelings on the inside that, hey, you're getting excited for nothing, because that's what I got all my life, this excitement for nothing. And then on the other hand, with everything, it was always the other side to it. On the other hand, it was, well, I'm glad they gone because I do not have to deal with their drama. And I'd rather they leave sooner than later. At least I got my little talk and that was it. And that's how I got through with the abandonment issues. I looked at it like clockwork. Abandonment was my high.